When people think of Jesus of Nazareth, they often think of a man who rejected wealth, lived in poverty, and taught his followers to do the same. But this is a profound misunderstanding of the historical and cultural context in which he lived. Jesus was a first-century Jewish rabbi. He was deeply immersed in the Torah, the prophets, and the oral traditions that would later become the Talmud. And like all great Jewish sages of his time, he understood that poverty was not a virtue to be celebrated, but a condition to be overcome through divine alignment. Today, I am going to reveal a specific verse from the Hebrew Bible that Jesus, as a Jewish rabbi, would have known intimately and used to activate the flow of provision when resources were scarce. This is not a magic spell, and it is not a prosperity gospel gimmick. It is a profound spiritual technology rooted in the ancient Jewish understanding of how God interacts with the material world. But before we look at this specific verse, we must address the biggest misconception people have about prayer and money. Most people pray from a position of lack. They focus entirely on what they do not have. They tell God how broke they are, how stressed they are, and how desperately they need a miracle. But the universe does not respond to desperation. It responds to alignment. If you are constantly speaking the language of poverty, you are building a vessel for poverty. You are letting the world command your destiny instead of commanding it yourself. And for those who are truly serious about accelerating their journey, for a limited time, I am opening the doors to the Torah Millionaire Business School for just $299. This is where I unveil the complete Torah wealth system. The full architecture of ancient wisdom applied to modern financial transformation. The doors are closing soon. The link is in the comments. Now, let us look at the verse. To understand how Jesus operated, we have to look at the most famous story of financial and material provision in his life, the feeding of the 5,000. In this story, Jesus is faced with a massive crowd and only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. From a purely mathematical perspective, he is completely broke. He has absolutely no resources to meet the demand. What does he do? He does not panic. He does not beg God for a miracle. He does not complain about the lack of food. The text says, he took the loaves and the fish, looked up to heaven, and gave thanks. This action is deeply rooted in a specific verse from the book of Psalms, a verse that every Jewish rabbi of the first century would have recited daily. It is Psalm 145, verse 16. You open your hand and satisfy the desires of every living thing. In Hebrew, the verse is, Potich et yadacha, umaspia lachol chai ratson, fo in naskibian a and I a. This is not just a nice piece of poetry. It is a profound theological statement about the nature of reality. The verse does not say that God will eventually open his hand, or that he might open his hand if you are good enough. It is written in the present continuous tense. God is constantly, actively opening his hand. The flow of abundance is never turned off. The problem is never a lack of supply. The problem is always a lack of reception. If you are standing in a torrential downpour with an umbrella, you cannot complain that you are thirsty. You must close the umbrella and open your mouth. This is not just a nice piece of poetry. In the Jewish tradition, this specific verse is considered the ultimate formula for financial sustenance. In fact, the Talmud in Tractate Berakot states that if a person recites the Ashrei prayer, which contains this verse, but fails to concentrate on this specific line, they must go back and repeat it. Why? Because this single verse contains the entire spiritual architecture of abundance. Let us break down exactly how this verse works and how Jesus applied it, because it reveals a 3-step process that you can use today to unlock financial provision. Step 1 is the shift in focus. When Jesus looked at the 5 loaves and 2 fish, he did not focus on the limitation. He looked up to heaven. He shifted his focus from the physical reality of lack to the spiritual reality of infinite supply. This is the essence of "you open your hand." When you are facing a financial crisis, your natural instinct is to stare at your empty bank account. You stare at the bills. You stare at the problem. But staring at the problem only magnifies the problem. The ancient Jewish sages understood that whatever you focus on expands. If you focus on lack, you create more lack. You must force yourself to look up. You must consciously shift your focus from the closed doors in your life to the open hand of the Creator. This shift in focus is not about toxic positivity or ignoring reality. It is about recognizing that the physical reality you see with your eyes is only a fraction of the total reality. The Talmud teaches that the physical world is merely a shadow of the spiritual world. When you focus entirely on the shadow, you become trapped by its limitations. But when you look up to the source of the light, you bypass the limitations of the shadow. You connect directly to the infinite supply. When you train your mind to look up, you are actively participating in the creation of your own reality. You are refusing to let the circumstances of the moment dictate the trajectory of your life. This is the difference between a victim and a creator. A victim looks at the 5 loaves and 2 fish and says, "This is not enough. I am going to starve." Mom diskencher for. A creator looks at the 5 loaves and 2 fish, looks up to heaven, and says, "This is the seed of a miracle." The physical objects are exactly the same in both scenarios. The only difference is the direction of the focus. Let me tell you about a man named Marcus. Marcus was a small business owner whose company was on the verge of bankruptcy. He had maxed out his credit cards, his suppliers were demanding payment, and he had no idea how he was going to make payroll. He spent every waking hour staring at spreadsheets, obsessing over the numbers, and panicking about the future. Then Marcus learned about the principle of the open hand. He realized that by obsessing over his lack, he was actually blocking the flow of provision. He decided to try a radical experiment. Every time he felt the panic rising, he would stop, look away from his computer screen, and recite Psalm 145:16. "You open your hand and satisfy the desires of every living thing." This simple shift in focus changed everything. It did not magically put money in his bank account, but it broke the paralysis of fear. By focusing on the open hand of God rather than his own empty hands, Marcus regained his clarity. He stopped panicking and started thinking creatively. He reached out to a former client he had previously been too proud to contact, and that single conversation led to a massive contract that saved his business. The provision was always there, but he could not see it until he shifted his focus. Step 2 is the activation of gratitude. After Jesus looked up to heaven, he gave thanks for the 5 loaves and 2 fish. He did not complain that it was not enough. He blessed what he already had. This is a profound Jewish principle. The Talmud teaches that blessing cannot rest on something that does not exist. It can only rest on something that is already present, no matter how small. When you give thanks for the little you have, you create a spiritual container that can hold more. Gratitude is the mechanism that transforms a limited resource into an infinite supply. This principle of blessing the seed is evident throughout the entire Hebrew Bible. When the prophet Elisha was asked to help a widow who was deeply in debt, he did not ask God to drop a bag of gold from the sky. He asked the widow what she already had in her house. She had nothing but a small jar of oil. Elisha told her to gather empty vessels and pour the oil she had. Because she valued and utilized the small amount she possessed, it multiplied until all the vessels were full. The miracle did not create something out of nothing. It expanded what was already there. The act of blessing is the act of recognition. When you bless your current income, no matter how small it may seem, you are recognizing the divine source of that income. You are acknowledging that every dollar you receive is a manifestation of God's open hand. This recognition changes your relationship with money. You stop seeing it as a scarce resource that you have to fight for and start seeing it as a divine gift that you are entrusted to manage. This shift from scarcity to stewardship is the foundation of all lasting wealth. This brings us to the story of Deborah. Deborah was a single mother struggling to make ends meet. She was working 2 jobs and still falling behind on rent. She was deeply bitter about her financial situation. Every time she looked at her meager paycheck, she felt a surge of anger and resentment. She was constantly complaining to her friends about how unfair life was. Deborah's bitterness was acting as a repellent to wealth. She was cursing the seed instead of watering it. When she learned about the principle of blessing the seed, she decided to change her approach. When she received her next paycheck, instead of complaining about how small it was, she held it in her hands and gave thanks. She thanked God that she had a job. She thanked God that she had the strength to work. She blessed the small amount of money she had. This act of gratitude completely shifted her energy. She stopped being a victim and started being a steward. Because she was no longer consumed by bitterness, she became more observant. She noticed an opportunity for a promotion at her second job that she had previously ignored. She applied for it with a new sense of confidence and got it, doubling her income within a month. By blessing the 5 loaves and 2 fish she already had, she activated the multiplication process. Step 3 is the alignment of desire. The second half of Psalm 145:16 says, "Onki ki prom si wampi ki befrom piti gan mai, deskufi bi kish," and satisfy the desires of every living thing. The Hebrew word for desire here is ratzon. But in Kabbalistic thought, ratzon does not just mean a fleeting wish or a selfish craving. It means a deep, soul-level alignment with the divine will. When Jesus multiplied the food, he was not doing it to show off or to make himself rich. He was doing it to feed hungry people. His desire was perfectly aligned with the divine desire to sustain life. When your financial goals are aligned with a higher purpose, when you want money not just to hoard it, but to build, to bless, and to create value in the world, the universe rushes to supply you. This alignment of desire is the ultimate secret of the ancient sages. They understood that the universe operates on principles of resonance. If your desire is purely selfish, you are vibrating at a low frequency. You are creating a closed loop of energy that eventually stagnates. But when your desire is aligned with the divine will to sustain and elevate life, you are vibrating at a high frequency. You become an open channel. The universe does not just send resources to you, it sends resources through you. You become a trusted distributor of divine wealth. Consider the story of Philip. Philip was a brilliant software engineer who wanted to start his own tech company. He spent years trying to secure funding, but every investor turned him down. His pitch was always about how his app was going to make him a billionaire and disrupt the industry. His desire was entirely self-centered. Philip was frustrated and broke. He decided to reevaluate his approach. He realized that his desire was not aligned with anything larger than his own ego. He completely redesigned his app to focus on solving a critical problem for small, local businesses that were struggling to compete with massive corporations. His new pitch was not about making himself rich, it was about empowering others to succeed. The shift in alignment was magnetic. Investors who had previously ignored him suddenly saw the value in his vision. He secured the funding he needed within weeks. Philip learned that when your ratzon, your desire, is aligned with the divine purpose of sustaining and elevating life, the open hand of the Creator provides the resources. Philip's success demonstrates the magnetic power of a mission-driven life. When your only goal is personal survival or personal glory, your capacity for wealth is limited to your personal needs. But when your goal is to build, bless, and multiply, your capacity for wealth expands to match the size of your mission. The universe is not interested in funding your ego, but it is infinitely interested in funding your purpose. The alignment of desire ensures that your daily work is always connected to a larger divine objective. This is why the greatest Jewish sages always taught that wealth is a responsibility, not a reward. When you ask God to open His hand and satisfy your desires, you must ensure that your desires are worthy of being satisfied. If your desire is to build a business that employs hundreds of people, that is a desire aligned with life. If your desire is to create a product that solves a genuine problem, that is a desire aligned with life. When your Ratson is aligned with the divine Ratson, the flow of resources becomes unstoppable. This alignment is not something you do once and forget about. It is a daily practice. Every morning when you wake up, you must ask yourself, what is my Ratson today? What is my deepest desire? If your answer is only about paying your bills or buying a new car, you are operating at a low frequency. You must elevate your desire. You must find a way to connect your daily work to the elevation of others. When you do this, you stop being a beggar and start being a partner in creation. This is the ancient technology hidden in Psalm 145:16. It is a complete system for financial and spiritual transformation. It requires discipline, it requires faith, and it requires a willingness to let go of the victim mentality that the world tries to force upon you. But if you are willing to do the work, the results are guaranteed by the very structure of the universe. This is the ancient technology hidden in Psalm 145:16. Shift your focus from the closed door to the open hand. Activate gratitude by blessing the seed you already have. Align your desire with a purpose larger than yourself. Why? You open your hand and satisfy the desires of every living thing. I want you to take this verse and make it a part of your daily life. I want you to write it down and place it somewhere you will see it every time you feel financial panic setting in. When the bills pile up, when the clients say no, when the bank account is empty, do not stare at the problem. Stop what you are doing, look up, and recite this verse. Let it be the circuit breaker that stops the cycle of fear and activates the cycle of abundance. Let it remind you that the hand of the Creator is always open, even when the doors of the world seem closed. This is not a Christian secret or a Jewish secret. It is a universal spiritual law. It is the exact mechanism that a first-century rabbi named Jesus used to turn scarcity into abundance, and it is the exact mechanism you can use today to transform your financial reality. You do not need to accept poverty as your destiny. You do not need to spend your life paralyzed by fear and lack. You simply need to align your mind, your words, and your actions with the infinite supply of the Creator. When you do this, you will discover that the provision you have been desperately seeking has been waiting for you all along. It was never withheld from you. You simply lacked the vessel to receive it. By shifting your focus, activating gratitude, and aligning your desire, you build a vessel large enough to hold the miracles you are praying for. This is the true meaning of abundance. It is not about hoarding resources. It is about becoming a conduit for divine flow. When you master this ancient technology, you will never look at money the same way again. You will stop seeing it as a scarce commodity to be fought over and start seeing it as an infinite resource to be stewarded. You will stop operating from a place of fear and start operating from a place of absolute, unshakable trust. The power is in your hands. Use it wisely, protect it fiercely, and never forget that true wealth is not just about what you accumulate, but about the divine alignment of your actions. If you are truly serious about accelerating your journey and applying these principles at the highest level for a limited time, I am opening the doors to the Torah Millionaire Business School. This is where we go beyond the basics and build the complete architecture of ancient wealth. The doors are closing soon. The link is in the comments. Shalom, and may the open hand of the Creator satisfy your deepest desires.